Thanks for joining us on the CBN News Channel. I'm Charlene Israel. New information out in the Boston Marathon bombing investigations. Authorities say the marathon was not the suspect's original target, and feds are now hoping to find clues after recovering the laptop of surviving suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. The Boston plot continues to unravel. Authorities say the surviving suspect, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, told investigators that the original target was a Boston 4th of July celebration. But he and his brother Tamerlan finished building their bombs sooner than expected. That's when they decided to attack the Boston Marathon instead. And another development in the case. Feds say they've recovered Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's laptop. 3 of Dzhokhar's friends have been accused of throwing away and withholding evidence and information. But one of their attorneys says his client handed the laptop over the first time agents came to see him.
I'm not sure a 19-year-old college student understands the gravity of such a situation like this. And they did not intentionally or knowingly destroy evidence.
The 3 friends face a maximum sentence of between 5 and 8 years in jail if convicted.
He was a good kid, definitely a good kid, and I guarantee you that he most likely had no knowledge of what he was doing. He made a stupid decision because he knew the guy.
Meanwhile, investigators have a new link to radical Islamic terrorists. Dzhokhar confessed that he and his brother watched internet sermons of American al-Qaeda cleric Anwar al-Awlaki. And authorities continue to investigate a 2012 trip that Tamerlan Tsarnaev took to Dagestan, Russia. They say he met with known Islamist militants while he was there. Feds are also investigating a post-bomb phone call Tamerlan made to his wife, Catherine Russell. She denies having any knowledge of the attacks. Tamerlan Tsarnaev's body was released Thursday to family members. Officials say the cause of death won't become public until a death certificate is filed. Well, the trauma from the Boston Marathon bombing will stay with our country for a long time, and Israelis can identify. Just a few years ago, they endured one of the worst terror campaigns in modern history and still live with the threat of terror. It's been a learning experience and one that America can learn from. Here's Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
The frightening images from the Boston Marathon bombing went global in a matter of hours. For many Israelis, it brought back memories of their own terror attacks. Take a walk around Jerusalem and you'll find memorials like this one. They mark the many terror attacks that happened during a period known as the Second Intifada. From September 2000 to 2004, nearly 1,000 Israelis died in those attacks and thousands more were wounded. This stone commemorates an attack on February 22, 2004. 8 Israelis died in that attack, including 2 18-year-olds.
It's a terrible thing to have so much pain and suffering, and families really changed forever from this kind of an event. And such a fun event as I remember as a child, going out onto Com Ave and watching the marathon, that kind of event will have that memory associated with it.
Debbie Garner grew up in Boston and now lives in Israel with her family. She knows what it's like to live in the terror shadow.
You know, you realize that sort of welcome to the club. You know, we live it day to day, and now unfortunately Boston's sort of into that club and having to take precautions that maybe weren't having to be taken in previous years.
This is something that maybe one of the biggest lessons that the Americans can and should learn practically from that horrific event.
Terror expert Boaz Ganor admits it's almost impossible to screen every spectator in an event like the Boston Marathon.
But there is another tier of activity, and this is public awareness. Some refers to that as resilience. And I think that public awareness in counterterrorism is an integral part of resilience. And the American is resilient in many ways, but on that respect, they need to be much more resilient and much more aware to their surroundings.
Police officer Mickey Rosenfeld saw public awareness in action. A local shopkeeper noticed a suspicious package, called police, and warned bystanders.
I remember that specific day being at the scene, which was in March in 2011. When the phone and the line was still open, he also asked members of the public to move out of the area because of this suspicious bag and suitcase. And what happened was, when he was on the line, so the explosion took place, and in fact, if he wouldn't have moved those members of the public out of the area, a lot of people would have been killed that day.
One person died and dozens were wounded, but it could have been much worse.
But that just goes to show what it is about public awareness, that as soon as people see a bag or an object, immediately they call the police, and in fact work specifically in the first few seconds in order to try and make sure that people aren't in any specific danger.
While these things may be second nature for Israelis, Garner feels these lessons must be taught around the world.
So I think, first of all, everyone should be aware of their surroundings at any point in time, wherever you are in the world. I mean, one day it's Boston, one day it's Tel Aviv, and one day it's Kathmandu. You know, you really don't know what's going to happen any day. But not to live life in panic or in fear all the time either. And certain precautions need to be taken.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
While much of the U.S. was focused on violence in Boston and Syria last month, attacks were soaring in Iraq. The United Nations is now reporting that April was the deadliest month there since June of 2008. In a report out today, the UN says attacks killed 712 people in Iraq in April. That includes 117 members of Iraqi security forces. Interestingly, the Associated Press has a different number, recording only 400 deaths last month. Experts say casualty tolls vary because official reports often differ from local police and hospital accounts. But the numbers underscore a growing concern that security is rapidly deteriorating in Iraq. The U.S. is calling on North Korea to release a Korean American sentenced to 15 years of hard labor.
Here, and we've had longstanding concerns about the lack of transparency and due process in the North Korean legal system. We urge the DPRK authorities to grant Mr. Bae amnesty and immediate release.
Kenneth Bae of Washington State was arrested in November near the border of China and Russia. He's accused of committing what North Korea describes as hostile acts against the state. But it's believed his sentencing is nothing more than a political ploy by the North Korean regime. Bae is the sixth American held there since 2009. His friends describe him as a devout Christian. Rhode Island is now the 10th state to legalize gay marriage. Governor Lincoln Chafee signed the bill on the steps of the State House Thursday. Chafee seemed to equate gay marriage with religious freedom. He said the law giving homosexuals the right to marry lives up to the ideals on which the state was founded. He referred to the state's charter of 1663.
I said, when marriage equality is the law in Rhode Island, we honor our forefathers who risked their lives and fortune in pursuit of human equality. I believe those words just as much today as I did then, and now I am proud and humbled to make Marriage Equality Act the law of the land in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island's state charter is heralded as the first ever to grant citizens religious freedom. The charter also says its founders were dedicated to edifying themselves and one another in the holy Christian faith and worship. Thursday marked the 62nd annual National Day of Prayer. Millions of Americans from coast to coast participated, but the main event took place in the halls of the United States Capitol. John Jessup was there.
And forgive us, mighty God.
From near and far.
We flew in from LAX airport in Los Angeles.
I'm from Calvary Christian School, which is a small private school in Old Bridge, New Jersey.
People packed into the U.S. Capitol in Washington to pray for America, the motto for this year's annual observance. It started 62 years ago here in the States, and organizers say it's now grown to include more than 42,000 prayer gatherings across the country. In this crowd, some familiar faces like Vonette Bright, James and Shirley Dobson, and the legendary Pat Boone.
God, we cry out to you.
Together, they prayed for repentance, for blessing, and for our leaders in the military and the judicial, legislative, and executive branches of government, all of which were represented. Barry Black, chaplain of the Senate, urged people to stop praying for just themselves and to start praying for their leaders, even if they disagree with their politics.
Pray for all people because our blessed Lord desires all men and women to be saved.
Many voiced concerns about a culture slipping further away from its Christian roots, a topic addressed by keynote speaker Greg Laurie, pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship.
Revive your work as you did in days gone by. Show us your power to save us. And that's what we need to pray, Lord. Do it again.
But gay rights activists denounced Lori's participation, citing his, quote, blatantly anti-LGBT message and calling it, quote, out of step with what the majority of people of faith across the country believe. But supporters say Lori's only guilty of preaching the Bible.
In spite of what they see, people here say they have hope because of prayer, and they look forward to the future and coming back together to pray again this time next year. John Jessup, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
Maryland is the latest state to abolish the death penalty. Democratic Governor Martin O'Malley signed the bill Thursday, repealing the law and replacing it with life in prison without parole. Maryland is now the 18th state to ban the death penalty, the first state south of the Mason-Dixon line to do so. The law does not apply to the 5 inmates currently facing execution, but the governor can commute their sentences. O'Malley has said he will consider them on a case-by-case basis. The state's last execution was in 2005. A shocking poll shows that Americans are ignorant about Planned Parenthood being the biggest abortion provider in the country. The new poll from the National Right to Life Committee shows more than half of Americans, 55%, don't know that Planned Parenthood does abortions at all. The president of the National Right to Life tells LifeNews.com, the American people have been duped into thinking that Planned Parenthood is nothing more than a mainstream healthcare provider, but it actually performs 27% of all abortions in the United States annually. Coming up, Iron Man 3. It's already burning up the box office. Why its family-friendly rank isn't quite looking that hot.
Today we're on a field trip to discover what inflation is doing to our paper money. In this hand is a $20 bill, and in this hand is a $20 U.S. gold coin. They used to have the same buying power, but how much can they buy today? In this first basket is what my $20 bill buys: milk, bread, peanut butter, and jelly. And here's what one $20 gold coin will buy: 6 baskets full, worth nearly $2,000, almost 100 times more food, simply by owning gold dollars instead of paper dollars. History shows that the gold coins have been the best way to beat the rising cost of living. So class, the moral is that unless you want to live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the future, you should turn some paper dollars into gold coins now. How and why is explained in a new book, The Great Debasement. Call the number below for a totally free copy. And that's the simple truth.
Help! If an emergency happened right now, you can have help at the push of a button with Medical Alert.
Remember when I took that fall, Mary?
Oh, yes, that was terrible.
Yes, it was.
Help!
And I thought, what if you hadn't been there? I ordered my Medical Alert the next day.
I can't describe how safe I feel now with my Medical Alert. You didn't know I was wearing it, did you?
Medical Alert is easy to install, waterproof, and covers you inside your home and out.
It helps me feel safe from fires, break-ins.
And of course, a Medical Alert. And if you don't have a home phone, don't worry. They have that covered.
There's always help at the push of a button. Don't wait till you need it.
Get Medical Alert for less than $1 a day. There are no long-term contracts. Order now and get your second button free. Call for your free brochure.
For your free Medical Alert system with second button free, call 800-575-8507.
From CBN.
Broken Eardrum is playing at the Civic tonight.
And you'll just have to miss it.
This is so incredibly unfair.
A special story of love and sacrifice.
Joy, Mom comes up with something.
Christopher Quantum, you and I are going to discuss your attitude right this minute. Superbook.
No.
Join the Superbook DVD Club and get Superbook's newest episode, He is Risen. Plus 2 copies to share with others. All for your gift of $25.
They have arrested Jesus, the Messiah.
Do you not know that I have the power to crucify you?
No! Please! You can't! They've taken him to Golgotha. We must hurry. Mary is about to lose her son. The worst thing any mother could face. I am not leaving her.
Superbook. It's an amazing way to build a strong spiritual foundation in the children you love.
Mary, who are you looking for?
I've seen him! He is alive!
Superbook. He is Risen. Available now.
Everyone's predicting a blockbuster weekend at the box office. For our regular movie reviews, Ephraim Graham spoke with Bob Waliszewski. He's director of Focus on the Family's entertainment review department called Plugged In Online.
We've got Iron Man 3 coming out. It's expected to be huge. How does it rank on the family-friendly scale?
Well, it's PG-13, and it's already made $200 million worldwide because it opened last week in all sorts of places across the country. Essentially, we have Tony Stark. He's wrestling with some anxiety attacks. He's not sleeping well. He's got some problems after his Avengers battle in New York, and really problems with saving the world. When a bomb outside the Chinese theater in Hollywood leaves his bodyguard injured, Tony Stark throws down the gauntlet and basically, with the cameras rolling, tells the Mandarin, come after me, and here's my address. Well, the baddie is wanting to do that. On the positive side, like you would expect, we're saving the world. There's a lot of self-sacrifice. But more this time around, there was some sensuality. There were some in others too, but more edgy, more, can I use the word sleazy? This time around, at least one scene is kind of like, really, we needed that in a PG-13? And the violence was more edgy. The body count was higher. I gave this one a 2.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. That's not the worst number that you could come up with for a film, but it does put it suspect as far as family friendliness. I work with a colleague who has a 12-year-old son. He saw the film with me. He said, I know my son wants to see this film, but I can't in good conscience let him see it. And I think for many of our viewers, that may be all they need to know about this film.
Indeed. I've got a 12-year-old who wants to see it as well. Where there's another interesting movie in theaters. It's called Mud, and it features Matthew McConaughey and Reese Witherspoon. What'd you think of it?
It's another PG-13 with exactly the same numeric rating as I gave Iron Man 3, a 2.5. It's edgy. It's two junior high boys who hear a rumor that a Mississippi flood left a boat up in a tree, and they think, what a great tree house, and they go investigate. It's kind of out in this island in the middle of the river, and sure enough, there's this boat. Only they find out there's a guy living there. Now, he's got a secret, but he tells them a little bit about his past, that he's waiting for a girlfriend. One of the junior high boys just believes that sounds like true love, and he wants to do everything he can to help this man who's carrying the secret bond with his girlfriend, and we find out what's going on. The idea of the wrestling with relationships and the idea that I want to help someone find true love, I mean, that's a good thing. But there's a lot of language in this issue, in this movie, and a lot of it coming from these junior high boys. It's like, as if the harsh language isn't disturbing enough coming from adults, it seems especially egregious coming from a couple boys who are 13 and 14. Just a mixed bag, one that I really can't recommend, and yet a movie that had some things going for it, but not enough going for it to get something like a 3 or a 3.5 or a 4 out of 5 for family friendliness.
All right, thank you so much. Hope to see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Up next, prodigal sons and daughters, why many of those who wander will one day return to their Christian roots.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need, just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Three out of 4 young people leave the Christian faith these days, but the good news for worried parents is about half of those kids will find their way back. The question is just how much pain and damage they will have to go through first. Paul Strand looks at one extreme case in Texas.
When Jessica Jones got to college, she abandoned the faith of her mom and dad and joined the drinking and hard partying scene.
Once she would start drinking, she would drink to the point of passing out.
Jessica's binge drinking ended with a drunken high-speed crash into this pole in College Station, Texas. Her blood alcohol level measured 0.3,
which is over 2.5 times the legal limit.
What followed over the next 5 years of rehabilitation changed her life even more. Jessica Jones was raised here in Allen, Texas before she left for college. Now, it's pretty common for college-age kids to wander away from the Lord, and not all that uncommon for them to come back. But it doesn't usually take a catastrophe as big as what happened to Jessica to bring them back. The crash left her in a coma and damaged her brain. When she woke up days later, she faced years of hard, painful rehabilitation. But rather than grow bitter, Jessica saw it as God dragging her out of a life that was killing her.
She had right at the level of alcohol poisoning, so she could have killed herself just from drinking without hitting anything.
It took him to really knock me down to really get my attention.
Now Jessica talks to schools and youth groups about drunk driving. The crash photos and her wounded body a testament to its damage. Josh and Ryan Shook also know what it's like to wander away from faith. In fact, most college-age kids desert God and religion at some point.
70% of students leave the church once they graduate or go off or move away from the home, and only 35% return. And I think that it should be a real wake-up call for the church.
For Josh and Ryan, leaving the faith was seen as a big deal because they were the kids of high-profile church leaders, Carrie and Chris Shook of the 17,000-member Woodlands Church outside Houston. The boys both felt Christianity had little for them, or as Josh put it back then,
there's not a big payoff in living the Christian life. Even though we saw our parents living out their faith, we thought, man, why isn't their faith exactly working for us?
Their parents say they shoulder some of the blame for not being more open about their own weaknesses and struggles.
And we were just living on a surface level at our house.
If I could go back, there's something we would do differently, and that is we would try to open up a dialogue and a conversation about the crisis of belief.
Didn't open up enough and didn't start early enough.
Eventually, both sons found their way back and want to help other young people do the same. They write about not settling for a second-hand faith in first-hand. It started with Josh confessing to his family that he'd been so mired in sexual sin and guilt, he couldn't face God or fellow believers. Telling that truth set him free.
I wanted to know what spiritual maturity that was, to open up and be totally honest, because, you know, he really taught us how to grow deeper with the Lord by being completely honest and open about our struggles.
Josh and Ryan say young people shouldn't be afraid of their doubts. God understands.
God wants us to have doubts. It's okay to have doubts. The real issue is, what do you do with those doubts when you have them? Do you bring them directly to God?
They also recommend not settling for anything less than finding a real relationship with God where you know He is alive.
For me, it took getting back to the basics. What do you enjoy doing with Christ, with God, that really brings you joy? Religion, Christianity will never fill me up, but a personal relationship with Jesus Christ will. A lot of us have carried around secondhand religion for a long time, and we're finally at a place in our 20s where we need to figure out what it is that we really believe.
They say parents need to trust God is big enough to bring their kids back to Him. Jessica's dad relates in his book, The Pole, how Jessica rediscovered God through her crash into that pole and long recovery after.
Because of what's happened to her now, her faith is real. And people see the love and light of Christ in her eyes and her face.
I just see God acting in every situation.
It's a frightening thing for parents to see their kids wander away from their childhood faith, but sometimes it's important so they don't just have a secondhand faith, and so that they know God firsthand. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Allen, Texas.
Up next, a community reaches out to help a victim of the Boston bombings. Stay with us.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Finally, a North Carolina aquatic center is showing its support for one of the victims of the Boston bombings. Nicole Gross is from Charlotte, North Carolina, but she's still in a Boston hospital recovering from her injuries. For years, Gross was involved with the Mecklenburg County Aquatic Center as a triathlete coach. This week, people flooded the complex to participate in the Swim for Nicole fundraiser. Athletes got an hour of training for any donation.
That's what being a competitor is all about, and being a Charlotte athlete and an athlete in general. It's you help each other. Whether it's you're on a bike ride and you fall, someone's going to stop and help you out. And that's what life is about, and that's what we all hope to strive for.
Good point. Gross's injuries included a fractured leg and ankle, and we pray all the blessings for her and all the others recovering. Well, that's going to do it now for the CBN News Channel. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day and a great weekend. God bless.
If you had a choice between going bald and a full head of hair, which would you choose? Advances in medical science have resulted in the world's first and only permanent solution to hair loss.
Yes!
You wash it, you cut it. It's your own real, naturally growing hair. When it comes to hair restoration, no one in the world has more experience than Bosley. The results look completely natural and are affordable on nearly any budget. But the entire process can't be explained in 60 brief seconds. So to find out more about this clinically proven and permanent solution to hair loss, call now to receive your free no-obligation information kit. It'll answer all of your questions about hair loss and hair restoration. Plus, we'll also send you this $250 gift certificate just for calling. Every day you wait, you're losing more hair. So don't put it off any longer. You owe it to yourself to find out the facts. Choose hair. Choose Bosley.
Call 800-868-9957. That's 800-868-9957.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.